Good evening, everyone. Today, as you might know, marks the date of International Transgender Day of Remembrance. Although, given everything that's going on, we're recording this in advance. It's today that we honour the lives of all those transgender people that we've lost in the past year, where we raise a candle to the monumental brilliance of transgender existence and the tragic loss that haunts our community. We, as trans people, as queer people, are forever aware of loss. It is in many ways built into our history, from sodomy laws to education suppression to the AIDS crisis that facilitated the loss of so many. Our community is surrounded by the ghosts of what could have been, and trans people know that better than any other. It's today that we honour those lost, those left with nobody to lean on, those trampled under the feet of bigoted societies. We honour the struggle of individuals unable to weather the storm, and the heartbreak of loved ones, and the communities torn apart without them. And so we are haunted, and so we forgive them, that they cannot be with us. In this year, one so dominated by loss and loneliness, it's perhaps more important than ever to acknowledge the impact that our society has on the transgender community. The coronavirus crisis has hurt us all in at least some small way, and has only exacerbated the existing inequalities that already plague trans people. Many of us are now stuck at home in transphobic families, isolated from queer support networks, unable to medically transition due to strain on the NHS. Many of our community are homeless, many more so than cis people, and in the middle of lockdowns such as this one, have nowhere to go. We're surrounded by a bigoted media landscape, and have faced legislation which has hurt us so much. The GRA reform, which so many of us clung to, is now a thing of the past, abandoned due to pressures from transphobic hate groups motivated by a bad author's worse opinions. The online spaces and groups, once safe, such as Gender GP, have had their access to hormones and puberty blockers withdrawn, and thus have so many other trans people, adults and children, just trying to live as they are. As you'd expect, the impact this all has on transgender people's mental health is devastating. And yet, despite the youth of trans rights movements, we are no stranger to this kind of loss. When things return to normal, our freedom won't come with the same luxuries as cis people's. Our loss will still be great. Our comfort will be caveated. We'll be safer, but not safe. Together, but still apart. Freer, but not free. We're a fractured community in a broken society. We are distant, and with that comes more loss. The statistics show a great disparity in the comfort and safety of trans people compared to cis people. We are more likely to be homeless, to face domestic abuse, verbal abuse at home and work. Our well-being is at the detriment due to the horrific nature of a society built for cis people. One that leads inevitably to deaths. And while it would be impossible to amass and identify the exact number of trans people we've lost this year, the total murdered is 350, according to TGEU. Each of these is an individual life gone because of horrendous conditions worldwide that have encouraged the powerful and the privileged to target minorities. It's a little surprised that the majority of trans people murdered were from Black and Latin backgrounds, a statistic which has persisted for years. It's worth acknowledging that systemic racism and transphobia have a lot in common. There's an intersection at the root of our communities, cemented by the harsh reality of violence and murder. Suicide is not uncommon in trans young people. 27% of us attempt suicide, at least 89% have thought about it. This is the horrible reality of the situation. The monstrous consequences of a societal violence that has hurt us, chiseled us down to the bone. Wherever we look, there's someone declaring us a threat, a voice telling us what we aren't, a joke about pronouns or attack helicopters. It might not seem like much, but it breaks us. The physical violence is scarier. The practical implications of walking home alone at night are horrifying, not that it matters now. My point is, it is now more than ever a scary world, an isolating and terrifying world, with so many of us stuck ourselves and those who would harm us, with their words, their politics, or their fists. Those who would maim us and those who would kill us. There are many of us who have the privilege or the safety nets to allow them to endure. There are others who aren't as lucky. Today is for them. To those cis people watching or listening, this part is for you. I urge you to do your research. I urge you to do the heavy lifting and spread love to your trans friends. Be an ally. Fight. Mourn. We don't just need your pity though, we need action. We need you to acknowledge us and fight with us against the societies that so often ignore us, oppress us without second thought, and leave us as victims. Put simply, transphobia is harm and violence just like any other. And we need your allyship, because to do otherwise is to erase that violence. We are human beings. We deserve your love and respect as any other would. We need allies because in this world our only protection is just that, each other. So this is to them, our trans siblings who once loved, who once hurt, who had lost their own. Our siblings who were like us and unlike us, who felt real feelings and lived real lives in real places, and yet find themselves so often condemned to an eerie statistic. Another to haunt us. You were flawed. You were brilliant. You shone like a star. You never truly blossomed. And you didn't make it. And I'm so, so sorry. But let this not bring us down. Let this be a day of mourning, yes, but let it motivate us each time. Of course be sad. Of course remember, but channel that. Get angry. Because fundamentally we have every right to carry our loss in a clenched fist of resistance. If you're one of my fellow trans people, use this. Take this into your heart. Let them not go forgotten. Let them motivate us with their brilliance cut so tragically short. This society is not made for us. It tortures us, smothers us, brings us down, kills us. But we will fight for one that is. If there's one thing I know about us trans people, it's that we're fighters. We have to be. And so I ask you, my trans friends and siblings, to join with me today to remember our found forebears, to look back on our great and storied history of resistance and oppression, of survival and of loss, to those we've lost this year and so many years before, and to hold them close for these few moments, so that when the time comes when we can unify and fight, so that when the time comes we can fight and unify to fight another day. And to my cis audience, remember that today is not just a one-off, that resistance is every moment of a trans person's life. Stand and fight with us tonight, and every night. We need allies. Tonight, if you have a candle, light it. Raise it way up into the sky. Let it burn for those minutes of silence. And remember them. Remember us. And to those we did lose, I'm sorry. You were loved. I promise you were loved. We will fight for you, for a better world, for a world where we can live as we please. We will march with clenched fists and voices ready. For us and for you. Thank you. And now for the minute of silence.